I'm going to kind of assume that.
Okay, sir. First of all, your name?
My name is Don Piper.
Don, tell me just briefly a little bit about your experience in the beginning. This whole thing came about.
Well, I was pastoring a church in Alvin, and I was attending a pastor's conference up on Lake Livingston, North Shore of Lake Livingston, between Livingston and Huntsville. In 1989, I finished the conference on a Wednesday morning. It's cold and rainy. I got in the car and I'm headed back to Alvin to lead a Bible study that night. And I was about 10 minutes out of the gate, crossing the old Trinity River Bridge on Texas 19, and an 18-wheeler crossed the center stripe and hit me head on. I was killed instantly, and horrific accident. The truck struck a couple of other cars after it struck mine. Fortunately, nobody else was hurt. Truck driver, the other two drivers were not hurt, so the body was covered up after the paramedics tried to revive me, and they're waiting for a medical examiner, a JP, to come out and sign the paperwork so they could transport the body. Back behind me are lots of pastors who have also left the same conference I've left. One of them came up the bridge, saw this carnage, and said to the officer in charge, I'm a pastor, I'd like to pray for any of the victims. And the policeman said, well, there's actually no one to pray for. Everyone else is okay except the man in the red car over there, he's dead. And that was me. And he said, well, God has told me to pray for him, I have to pray for him. And the officer said, well, he's dead. And they said, well, but God's told me to pray for him, I have to pray for him. So he got permission to get in the wreckage, hold on to my right shoulder because my right arm is the only thing I didn't break in the accident, and he began to pray for the dead guy under the tarp because they'd covered up the body so nobody could see it. This went on for an hour and a half. Meanwhile, my church is notified. My wife is teaching school, so they didn't know how to get in touch with her. So the church finds out I've been in an accident, but not that I'm a fatality. They did not tell them that on the phone. So they start praying. They start calling every church in the greater Houston area. This spreads all over the country. So in an hour and a half's time, tens of thousands of people are praying for the preacher who's in the terrible wreck on the bridge. One man knows I'm a fatality. He's in the car praying over the body. An hour and a half passes from the accident at 11:45 a.m. At 1:15 in the afternoon, he's singing the hymn, What a Friend We Have in Jesus, holding onto my right shoulder, praying, and suddenly, without any warning, I start singing the song with him. He gets out of the car really fast and says to the officer, the dead man is singing. And I was. Wait. So then they
don't forget the silent auction on the back.
They had to get me out of there. And they didn't even have the...
You start singing.
He starts singing What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and he jumps out of the car and says the dead man is singing, which I was. I remember singing with him, even if I didn't know who he was. So then they have to order equipment from in Huntsville to be brought out to the bridge to dismantle the car, because I've been crushed in the car. They succeed in getting me out. I'm taken to a clinic in Trinity. They can't help me there. They take me to Huntsville Memorial there on I-45. They're trying to stabilize me, and they're going to airlift me to the nearest level 1 trauma center, which is Herman in those days. Well, they can't take me by helicopter because the weather's too bad that day. So I'm driven to Herman Hospital. And from an accident that happened at 11:45, I got there at 6:15 that night, 6.5 hours later. And from that night forward, I would be in a hospital bed for 13 months and have 34 major operations to put me back together again.
What was the reaction of the paramedics when they found out that you're,
Shocked, amazed, and thrilled. They don't often get to see anything like that. And you can imagine how it encouraged them to know that that they should keep working.
Now you've got the movie thing. You've inspired a lot of people. You've got a lot of
the book came out first, and it was the kind of the little book it could. We didn't have any ideas. I figured my mother would buy one, and the neighbors would buy one, and it sold almost 8 billion copies. So they tried to make a movie for years, and we wouldn't make it if it wasn't authentic, if it didn't really reflect what happened in the story, and nothing more. And so the movie was made starting last year, finished earlier this year. It premiered in theaters nationwide September the 11th, and is about to go to pay-per-view and DVD and Blu-ray within the next 6 to 8 weeks.
What was it like when you were trying to, with them putting this movie together?
Very strange.
I mean,
It's very strange to watch people being you on a massive screen, saying your words, acting the things that happen in your life. And in some ways it was kind of surreal. All of us, the whole family, we all went through this together. My extended family, my church family, and now we're watching our lives on screen. I often say I haven't got over my life being for sale at Walmart, and now it's in movie theaters. So it's been a strange process. It seems to matter in ways that we never could have imagined. And so I guess that's the beauty of this story. Heaven is a real place. I've seen it, and you can go there, but you can have a better life on the way than you're having. And I had to figure that out because I was never going to be the same again. I've been knocked down but not out. So it's a hopeful story. The theme of the movie is Hope Lives, but it's not just talking about eternal hope. It's talking about hope now. Even though something tragic and painful and difficult has happened to you, you may be beaten up, but you don't have to be beaten. And so it's a story about overcoming. They told me I would never walk again. They told me if they put this arm back on again, that I would never use it again, but I walked into this place today. When I'm finished, I'm walking out. So I believe in miracles.
You may be seated. We're going to have a closing prayer in a moment, but we have a special guest that we want to introduce to Don today. His team asked that we not tell him in advance of being here. And we have someone from our Montgomery County District Attorney's Office here today. And he was there that day. He was the trooper that was in charge of your investigation. And he called us a few weeks ago and said, I'd like to meet Mr. Piper. I've never met him.
I'd like to see him face to face.
And he asked to buy a ticket. I told him you would pay for it.
Absolutely.
So, Sbjut, investigator with the District Attorney's Office, retired DPS Trooper. I know y'all were visiting. Don, he actually saw part of your bone fall out of the ambulance. And Schwen, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your distinguished career in service. Retired DPS trooper. He's now an investigator with Brett Lagan's office. And he has touched many lives himself and the things that he has done. I'd like all our men and women in law enforcement that are here today, would you please stand? Everybody, former, retired. All across this room. Don is going to be over here to my left, your right, for book signing for a few moments. He does need to leave to go tend to his family in Shreveport. And so he's going to be doing that. A couple things we need to do. We have door prize. This is my twin brother. It seems so in my wife, and I said, oh my goodness, what were we thinking? We're going to have so many tables and not everybody, I just couldn't imagine the crowd that we have here today. So thank you for blessing us. Thank you for being here. And we're just so honored for your prayers and your support and our ability to make a difference every day. You're the reason we can do what we do. And I covet your prayers and support. And thank you for all that you do. All of you that are here. I want to hug every one of you and thank every one of you. Some of you got to get back to work, so I understand. But Pastor Shelton is going to come in with our dismissal prayer. Would we please all stand? God bless every one of you. God bless America, and God bless Texas, and God bless the greatest county in Texas, Montgomery County. Thank you, everyone. Dr. Wilkerson, thank you for being here today as well. We appreciate the honor. Yes, it's
On my back.
I hadn't been there much longer. By the time I got there, you were back revived. actually happened in Trinity County. I worked in Walker County. And there's a whole story. No, the whole bridge is worked by Trinity County. So there's a whole story behind the reason I came up there and had to work it. So
I knew there were people of different jurisdictions.
if you ever want to hear that story,
I want to hear that story.
All right, I know you got a lot to do right now.
Well, as soon as I get back from all this, I'm going to give you a call and we're going to grab lunch or something.
Great. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Don, what do you think about this? About meeting him today?
Startling, amazing, thrilling. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to do it when I get back from helping my family. We're going to get together, and he's got some details to fill in about what brought him to the bridge that day out of jurisdiction. It was kind of a divine appointment, so I'm looking forward to visiting with him and getting some pieces of the puzzle.
Have you ever talked to any of the troopers after the accident?
No, I did talk to a couple of the first responders, the paramedics. Yeah, there were 4 of them, and I've talked to 2 of them. So I have gotten a little insight, but he was talking about pieces of me falling off that, you know, when they lifted me up, there were. So I want those details, yeah, to kind of fill in some spots I don't have. Yeah.
Kind of interesting. Did you even expect this?
I had
today?
no idea. I sat beside him the whole time. I didn't know who he was. We had a wonderful conversation.
Oh, you didn't know what he was saying?
No, I didn't.
I wondered about that.
No, he was sitting right beside me. We talked about his dad. We talked about my dad. We had a wonderful time, not knowing that he was on the bridge that day.
Thank you for coming out this morning.
First of all, your name and spell it.
Sbjut, and it's Swenspjut.
You're with the DA's office now in
Yes,
Montgomery County. Where were you back when Mr. Piper was wrecked?
I was a trooper stationed in Huntsville, Texas.
Tell me a little bit about that day.
It was raining real heavy. At one point during my day, if I remember right, I was working another accident, a minor accident, and they called me asking if I could assist Trinity County with a wreck on the Trinity River Bridge. So when I finished the wreck, I went up there, and I remember them loading him on the ambulance, and then I kept calling, "Where's your troopers?" Because I thought I was just going there to assist them, and the troopers didn't show up. And I called over to Lufkin, which is where they dispatch out of, and they basically advised me that their troopers weren't showing up. So I ended up working the accident.
You said part of him, when they loaded him up, the bone that he basically been talking about was there.
The bone actually fell out of his leg as they were loading him in the ambulance.
And no telling whatever happened to it. Never made it to the hospital.
Evidently not. So it probably would have saved him a lot of pain and suffering if it had.
When did you realize the whole thing? I mean, with him coming back too and all this.
I didn't even know that happened until the book came out. My wife was reading the book. I didn't know he'd passed away and all that. I didn't know that had happened because I didn't. At no point did anybody ever tell me, "Hey, he died," and we pronounced him or whatever. None of that. I didn't even know that happened.
So basically a major accident.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the guy was in very bad shape, and they even said that. So I basically worked it as a fatality as best I could because they were saying there's a good chance he won't make it. So, that's basically what it was.
Tell me, when did you first realize about this accident?
It was about 2-3 years ago. My wife was actually reading the book, and she goes, "This sounds really familiar." And I said, "What?" And she gives me the details of the wreck, of saying this guy got hit by an TDC 18-wheeler, and he was a preacher. And I said, "That's the wreck I worked." And she goes, "You're kidding." I said, "No, that's the one I told you about." She goes, "That's right, you did tell me. That's why it sounded familiar." And that was how I first found out that there was a book or anything written or anything about the
Never contacted anywhere?
No, I wasn't contacted for the book. I wasn't contacted for the movie, nothing like that. So I had no idea any of that was, had happened.